So today I am doing a collab that I'm pretty excited about with some other financial YouTube-y ladies, and I am actually a little interested, well, I'm a lot interested to see what they're going to respond to this question with, because I have a feeling that they're all going to be pretty much along the same lines of what we wish we have been taught in high school, which is the subject of this. What things do you wish you had been taught in high school that you weren't? And so my first one is the most obvious. I wish I had been taught about budgeting in high school. I can remember one time in one class, and it was in like a homeroom class in 9th or 10th grade, that a teacher had a sit down and she tried to teach us a budget. But what she did was she gave us an income, which I think was about $50,000 or something like that, and then a list of bills and expenses, and we had to allocate the money that we had from our paycheck, which was $50,000 a year, to that. And so it wasn't, and I remember this very specifically, of even thinking then, like, well, this is so easy if, you know, and I remember the budget that I laid out had like vacations and car payments and all sorts of like really fun and fantastic stuff. And I was thinking, well, and there was way more money than there were bills. So it was not exactly the best example. And it certainly wasn't applicable to my 15, 16-year-old self. I wish that we had had a more in-depth class that actually showed us how to balance the money that we were making then, because a lot of us had part-time jobs, and like how to do a budget based off of something that we'd encounter, basically a budget based on an income that we would encounter within the next 10 years or so. Because most people my age are still not making that much. Some are. I know people that are, but when you probably most need to be able to know how to budget is straight out of college. When you're just starting out, that's when you need to be able to stretch your money the most. And I wasn't shown a post-college budget where I had to figure out how to do that. So I can literally only remember one time where finances and money were ever talked about in my high school. So I wish that there had been something like the Dave Ramsey Foundations class where I was actually told why it matters, how to budget for college, how to create a life based off of the income that I was living and plan for the future. So that was that one encounter, I'm pretty sure, is the only time we were ever shown how to do a budget. And it was just like a little worksheet exercise type thing. So I wish I had been able to go through something like Foundations, and I wish a lot of my peers had too, because I certainly know a lot of people that are still, they're my age, they're almost 30, and they're still struggling constantly with money, having to borrow money. They're never getting ahead, and they're always living paycheck to paycheck. And I'm so happy to be out of that cycle. So, all right, next up, I wish that I had been taught how to cook and do meal planning. Now, this, I have to kind of slap myself a little for, because when I was in middle school, I remember being told that there used to be a home ec class. And at the time I was like, good, I'm glad there's not a home ec class anymore. Women are powerful, and we shouldn't, be taught how to sew and cook and stuff like that. Because at the time it had been previously a home ec class for the girls and a shop class for the guys. And I'm still with that. I think everybody should have to take a basic cooking and meal planning class. I never learned until I was like an adult how long food took to expire. When you're a kid, there's just food in the house. There's always fresh food. You don't know how long it takes for apples to go bad or potatoes to go bad or all this stuff you have to learn later. I wish I had been taught that. I wish I had been taught how to kind of meal plan, or I do remember, once again, home ec class, which is where they seem to, not home ec, homeroom class, which is where they seem to shove all the random life skills that they were attempting to teach us, them showing us how to make spaghetti and brownies and a pizza. So we were like taught very basic skills, but that was more of like a fun activity. It didn't go into how to feed your family for a week, or how to grocery shop on a small budget, or how to feed yourself or eat healthily. Other than those little worksheets that they gave out with the food pyramid on it, and you had to know how many grains and starches and vegetables you were supposed to eat, but it was never applied practically. So I'm not trying to crap all over my education, but I am seeing from the other side of this, having clearly remembered what I was taught in high school and what I am needing to know now, how much better my education could have been if these life skills had been taught to the degree where we could have actually used them. I have yet to use the fact that I know that the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. It would have been great to know that you need to cook chicken to a certain degree or else you'll get super sick and have to go to the hospital. All right. Number 3, I wish that I had been taught in school somewhere of kind of how to live a full life once you're living on their own. And I realize that sounds like a very high order, but all that was talked about in school was going to college and or getting a job. That is the track that we are set on, and I think that is fine, but you can't just live working and going home. Most people can't just do that happily. Most adults have hobbies, they have interests, they have, some have families that also have hobbies and interests, but the only things that were ever talked about were really get a job and they assume you'll have a family soon. And so those will be your hobbies. But I was never really taught what to do before I had a family and how to be fulfilled. And I think it probably contributes a little bit to my generation's depression, that we weren't really taught to have interests and do things outside of work. So I really wish that it had been addressed on how to kind of live a balanced life. Something that really changed my perspective is I've read once that everyone should have 3 hobbies. 1 to keep you healthy, 1 to make you wealthy, and 1 where you're helping others. And that has really kind of adjusted my viewpoints on trying to fill those holes in my life and trying to fill my time outside of work. And if I have something going on that keeps me healthy, kind of a side gig that is making me money, and I'm also doing something to help others, I really feel balanced and fulfilled in life. And it kind of keeps the not so fun parts of life a little bit further away. And I wish at some point that might have been addressed at school, because I know a lot of people that are kind of just super unsatisfied with their lives. And I'm not saying that's the cure, but it absolutely, I think, helps. So, all right. Next up, number 4, I wish I had learned the basic sewing skills. Once again, this goes back to home ec, which I was totally against when I was in middle school. But I had to learn that on my own, how to sew on a button, how to hem pants. I'm still not very good at it, but I can, take in a simple dress a little bit, or I can fix a tear. I've fixed my, sewn up my bed skirt a few times, but I really think that that's a life skill that has kind of gone to the wayside, and it's so incredibly useful. And also bringing things to get altered or throwing things away is not good for our wallets or the environment, or I would argue the universe. If we can fix things, then we can live better and more full lives. And also how to build simple things. I still can't screw in a nail straight. None of the, I put up all my own curtains and everything like that. There's not a single one where I haven't stripped the screw completely bare. I wish I had learned basic tools and those kind of skills. I didn't learn how to change a tire in college or in high school. How is that not a thing that we had to learn? My father taught me how to change a tire, but if he hadn't, then I probably still wouldn't know to this day unless I had gone out and actively tried to learn that myself. So I absolutely think that we should have been taught how to do, some basic home maintenance projects, some basic sewing skills, basic cooking skills, and I don't see how that isn't part of our regular education. And finally, number 5 is I wish that there had been some sort of class on teaching people how to have general etiquette, and especially work etiquette. I have worked with a lot of people who don't understand that you should come into work on time and you should be dressed appropriately and you shouldn't curse on the phone in a professional office environment. It's a kind of a rarer skill, actually. When I was first starting out in the workforce, I was just kind of tentative all the time. I knew not to do those things, but if I had been taught kind of how to present myself professionally and had taken some sort of class on that, I think I would have felt a lot more confident going out into the world. I also didn't learn how to, apply for jobs or build a resume or interview or anything like that in high school, which I definitely think should have been part of their curriculum. We learned a lot about math. We learned a lot about science, but we didn't learn how to get by in the regular professional world. And I don't want to seem like I hate the American education system, but I certainly think that there are places where it could be improved, where it's not just focusing on the best test scores to get the districts more money, but to actually prepare these young adults to go out into the world and thrive there. Because a lot of things that we've had to figure out for ourselves, that I've had to figure out for myself, I could have saved myself a lot of hassle if I had been taught those when I was supposedly being prepared for the world. All I was really being prepared for was college. So please let me know below if your high school education was completely different from mine. I'm especially interested to hear from all you international viewers who I know have different educational systems. Maybe yours aren't based so much on standardized testing score achievements. And maybe you learned all of this stuff. Maybe you learned money and balancing checkbooks and stuff like that. I would love to know about that. Or maybe if you did grow up in America and you went to a different type of school than I did, which I just went to a regular public high school, and maybe you did learn some of that stuff. So, or what you also think was lacking in your education, or if you disagree with anything of mine. So I'd love to hear essentially everything and anything from you, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks so much to all of my collaborators. They will all be listed below, and for having me in on this one. I'm super excited. See you later. I should mention that in high school, I did learn all of my writing skills, which have been essential to the career that I'm in. I'm certainly not saying that I didn't learn anything useful in high school. I discovered a lot of literature that I hadn't been exposed to before. There's obviously the social aspect and learning to interact with other people and history of our nation and all of that. I loved all of that, and I wouldn't be where I am without the good education that I got. I simply wanted to participate in this collab to point out the things that perhaps could be improved upon. So I hope you understand where I'm coming from.